friend of mine called me this summer to tell me that she had gotten a new job, and she was elated. I was so happy to hear it because it was for a lot more money, and the commute was not bad at all. So how sad it was the second week into that job to get a call from her saying that she felt like she'd made a huge mistake. It didn't feel right. The setting was so different than her last workplace, and her colleagues were cold and distant, and she didn't like the work. She said, "I feel like I've made a terrible move." But she knows that it's better for her family for her to be there from a providing standpoint. And she knows that she can't quit now. She has 2 kids and a husband and a mortgage. But she also knows that she hasn't been sleeping at night since she started her first day. She tosses and turns and wakes up exhausted. And she's so anxious in the mornings before she goes to work that she throws up. I understood anxiety recently for a different reason. I have a friend who I've been close with for a long time who has been going through kind of a downward spiral in a certain area of life. And I knew that it was time for an intervention. But I didn't want to be the one to do it. I was afraid it would blow up the friendship, that I would lose it. But it was clear that I was the only one who could speak up. And I had to do it. I didn't want to. I would have avoided it if I could have. But there was no going around it. I had to. Those 2 stories I just told you are, to me, modern examples of the cross. And they illustrate what makes the cross really a cross in your life instead of something else. The way Jesus says it is this. You just heard it in the gospel. If you love your life and you want to save it, you have to be willing to lose it. You have to take up your cross, whatever that is, and follow me. So what is a cross? Your cross is not an annoyance, and it's not something that you would ever take on yourself. Sometimes we use the word cross that way. Oh, my cross is my alarm going off at 5 in the morning and me having to do that morning workout. Oh, I hate it. That's not the cross. The cross is not having to go to Mass every weekend, even if it's at 11:30, which ruins your whole day. The cross is not something that you would ever take on yourself, right? It's never giving up chocolate for Lent and saying, "Oh my gosh, it's been a month and I haven't had chocolate." That's not the cross. Because the cross is never something you would choose yourself. It doesn't have any evident benefit. It doesn't say, well, in the long run, I'm sure this will all work out. No. The cross is something that you wish you could avoid. It is the pain that you would do anything to get out of, but that you can't avoid. And if you try to avoid it, if you say, I just am not going to accept it, I just won't do it, then everything feels off. If you try to escape it, everything feels off. For example, my friend, if I had said, I'm just not going to do the intervention, I'm not going to say anything, then I would just watch the friendship wither and die. If my friend says, well, this job doesn't feel right, so I'm just going to quit, then she can't pay her mortgage, and her kids are going to lose their school tuition. So, what we need to see is the cross is something that if we avoid it, it will just show up somewhere else, another way. If we slam the door in its face, it's going to come through the window, or it's going to come around the back. The cross is something that there's no way around, over, or under. You've got to go through it. And I think Jesus' cross is what shows us that. What if he had said, I will do every part of my mission except for that? That's the one part I won't do. And then he decided to tone it down with the authorities, and he accepted a teaching job at Jerusalem University. And he taught a class on morals, and everybody loved him. Oh my gosh, the classes were always so full. And he did a speaking tour, and he got honorary doctorates. And then he lived to be an old age, and he died peacefully at home. That's not the story of our salvation. That would not have done what his death did. We would not have learned about forgiveness that way. We would not have learned about breaking the cycle of revenge and payback that way. We would not have called him the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world if he chose that route. And the same thing is true for today. I can't have a valuable relationship with that friend if I don't have this conversation with him. My friend who wants to quit her job is never going to find out what is at the root of this insecurity which makes her feel not up to the task if she walks away from it now. The cross is what you must face because it won't feel right. Nothing will work out, and it's just going to come back another way. The attitude that we have to have for this is what you heard in the first reading from the book of Isaiah. So I faced my challenge, and I have not rebelled. I have not turned back. People are trying to strike at me, and I turn my face toward it. When a slap comes toward me, I turn toward it, not away from it. I don't try to run. I want to face it now. I'm going to pick up the phone and call my friend and ask to meet with him for the hard conversation. I'm going to have a bad morning, but then I'm going to gargle with Listerine, and I'm going to get in the car and go to work. There is a falsehood that some of us believe, a myth that is not true, that if we avoid the cross, then everything will be great. I chose not to go the cross route, so now I have a great life. Woohoo! That's not how it works. We're not that naive, are we, to think that if we just avoid something that we're being asked to suffer through, that we'll just have a great life? Everybody knows that life is a challenge for all of us. Don't we know that? In Buddhism, the very first teaching of the whole faith is life is suffering. And we know that there are challenges in every stage of life, and there are obstacles that we have to overcome, and there is going to be some pain in our life. That's what it's like to be human. I heard an interesting fact recently. 82% of all the painkillers sold worldwide are sold in one country. Can you guess which one it is? We're running from our pain. We make up 5% of the world's population, and we use 82% of the pain relievers. So obviously we're trying not to carry the cross. And who can blame us? Because there's some pain that we should avoid. Any pain that's wasted, there's no reason. Pain has no value on its own. Of course, if the pain that we're receiving is because of bad decisions or because of an addiction or because of a pattern that we keep following, of course we should avoid that pain. We're talking about the pain that you can't avoid, the pain that you have to face, the pain that's a part of life. So what are we going to do about it? This week, we are being invited to recognize whatever it is that's on your mind right now, whatever it is that you've been thinking of while I've been talking, to recognize it as the cross. And to do with it perhaps what Jesus did with it, which is to say, God, if I can't avoid this, I need your help with it. I'm going to ask you to bless it. It's kind of like what we do with the bread and the wine. We take the bread and the wine at the beginning of Mass and we say, Lord, this is all we've got. We need you to make it more than it is. We need you to bless it and make it something better than it is. And I would propose to you that Jesus has been teaching us our whole lives how to do this. And the church has presented it to us every time we go to Mass. Here it is. It's the stations of the cross. How do we go through this? Like he did. We face it. We stumble and fall. We go through a painful encounter with somebody that we care about. We ask for help and receive some. We fall again. We make our way past all sorts of obstacles. We fall again, but we get up. And although there are excruciating points of the journey, we recognize that in the end, these are not just stations of the cross. They're stations of the resurrection. These are steps on the journey to the ultimate ending. So we have an opportunity to ask God to take whatever is the inevitable suffering that we've got, the pain that we can't avoid, the thing we must do, the friend we've got to pick up the phone and call, the job that we have to just figure out how to get through, at least for this year, and we offer it. Because Jesus told us that there would be a cross in our lives. And he told us our job is to pick it up and carry it and follow him.